You've been told your whole life to be kind, to be generous, to be compassionate. And I'm not here to argue against those virtues. But here's the thing. Self. Kindness without discernment is a liability, not a virtue. Especially in old age, especially when your energy is limited, your time is precious. Self. And your vulnerability increases by the day. If you don't understand this, if you keep living with the same open-hearted naivety you had in your 20s, you will be, not metaphorically, but literally, I've seen it happen to people, good people, intelligent people, self. People who thought that because they were decent, others would be too. They were wrong, and they paid for it with their dignity, their health, self, and sometimes even their life. So listen very carefully. In old age, you cannot afford to trust everyone. You cannot afford to be kind to everyone. Yourself, that is not wisdom. That is not virtue. That is blindness. You need to know who to guard yourself against, who not to let into your life, yourself, who not to open your heart to. And I'll tell you about 5 types of people you must never trust or show kindness to. Not because kindness is wrong, yourself, but because kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. When you're younger, you can recover. You can take the betrayal, the manipulation, yourself, the loss, and bounce back. But in old age, the margin for error shrinks. One mistake can be the domino that topples your entire foundation. One misjudgment, one leech in your life, and suddenly your retirement savings are gone. Your peace is shattered. Your health deteriorates. And worst of all, your trust in humanity collapses. Let me start with a story. A man I once knew, let's call him Richard, retired at 65. Yourself. He was a good man, thoughtful, always willing to help. He lived alone, a widower. One day, he met a woman younger than him by about 20 years. She seemed warm, attentive. She said all the right things. She made him feel young again, seen again, alive again. Within 6 months, yourself, he had given her access to his account, started helping her with her business ventures, even paid off a car loan. 2 years later, she disappeared. Yourself vanished, took everything she could. And Richard, well, he wasn't just broke, he was broken. And it wasn't just the money, it was a shame. Yourself, the humiliation of realizing he had been preyed upon. The realization that his goodness had been used against him. There are people in this world, self, opportunists, manipulators, parasites, who look for exactly that kind of goodness. And seniors, especially those who live alone or suffer from loneliness, are easy targets. So let's not sugarcoat it. Your age does not make you immune. In fact, self, it makes you more vulnerable. And that's exactly why you need to sharpen your perception, not dull it with sentimentalism. The first type of person you must never trust is the emotional blackmailer. These people manipulate your sense of guilt and obligation. They will say things like, well, after all I've done for you, this is how you treat me. Or, if you really cared, you would. They feed off your desire to do the right thing, but their emotives are not aligned with your well-being. They want to control you, not support you. And if you allow it, they will make your final decades a prison of guilt and manipulation. Yourself, they'll rewrite the script of your life so that you're always the villain and they always the victim. Don't fall for it. Yourself. The woman in her 70 years once told me how her daughter constantly threatened to cut off access to her grandchildren if she didn't help with rent, bills, or childcare even though the daughter had a well-paying job. That's not love. That's exploitation. Masked family, yourself. Just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they deserve your trust. You must observe actions, not just listen to words. People show you who they are. Watch carefully. And when the same emotional weapons are used again and again, draw the line. Even if it hurts, even if it's family, because dignity is worth more than peace bought through submission. Then there's the eternal victim, yourself. You'll recognize this person because nothing is ever their fault. Every misfortune, every mistake, every downfall, it's always someone else's doing. Yourself. They will come to you hating with a story that tugs at your heartstrings. And at first, you'll feel compassion. Of course you will. You're human, yourself. But over time, you'll see a pattern. They don't want help to rise. They want support to stay down. They don't want to solve problems. They want to be rescued, and they will drain you emotionally and financially until you have nothing left. Not because they hate you, but because they don't see you. They see what you can provide. Your kindness becomes their feeding ground. Old age should be a time of reflection, contribution, and peace, not crisis management. And if your days are consumed by trying to fix someone else's chaos, then you are being robbed. Not in some abstract moral way, but in very real measurable terms. Your energy, your time, your health. And here's the brutal truth. Self. If you don't put yourself first now, no one else will. The third type is the charmer with an agenda. Now, self. These people are the most dangerous because they don't come to you with problems. They come bearing smiles. They make you feel special, important, relevant, self. And after years, maybe decades of being overlooked and visible, even that feels intoxicating. And that's how they get in. Not by force, but by seduction. They will tell you that you're wiser than most, more generous, more open-minded, and before you know it, you're signing over a check, co-signing a loan, investing in some once in a lifetime EL opportunity, and when it all falls apart, they're gone, and you are left holding the bag. You must understand this. Not everyone who makes you feel good is good for you. Some people specialize in manufacturing affection just to gain your trust. They have no conscience about what they take from you, yourself. And you in your later years must learn the discipline of skepticism, not cynicism, but skepticism. Ask yourself, what do they want from me? Yourself, what are they not telling me? What pattern do I see when I step back from the emotional high? One of the most painful truths of aging is this, self. You become invisible to many, but not to predators. They see you clearly. They see the retirement fund, the paid-off house, the loneliness, the longing, and they move in like vultures disguised as doves. You have to become a hawk, and not in aggression, but in awareness. Then comes the chronic complainer. Now, this might not sound dangerous at first, but these people are soul erosion in slow motion, self. Every conversation is a monologue of misery. Nothing is ever good enough. Every joy you share is met with a reason why it won't last. Every spark of hope is dusted in their rain clouds. And if you let them, they will slowly pull you into their world of bitterness until your light dims too. You have to protect your spirit in old age. Positivity is not navy. It is fuel. And if your circle is filled with those who constantly feed you despair, You will start believing the world is worse than it really is. Self, that you are more powerless than you really are. That decline is inevitable. It isn't. Not in the ways that matter. Your soul doesn't have to wither just because your body slows down, but that requires ruthless attention to the company you keep. And lastly, and this one is the hardest, the secretly resentful caregiver. This is the person who appears to be helping you, supporting you, perhaps even living with you. But beneath the surface, there is anger, resentment, bitterness, and over time it leaks out in passive aggression, self, in guilt trips, in subtle jabs that make you feel like a burden. They may never say it outright, but you'll feel it. The sighs, the rolled eyes, yourself, the unreturned calls, the way they talk about you to others. You must be very careful here, because allowing someone access to your physical space, yourself, your medical care, your finances, without also gouging their emotional health, that's a recipe for abuse. Self. And it happens far more often than we'd like to admit. Sometimes the danger isn't the stranger outside, it's the familiar face inside your home. So, self, you must listen to your instincts. If something